Welcome to the Voter Interest Project's candidate interviews for 2023. I'm Alan McPheeters, the Executive Director of the Voter Interest Project. Our mission is to provide voters with the information they need to make informed decisions about government, candidates, and ballot measures. Our focus is local. We cover Island County, its cities and towns, and various special districts, as well as the representatives from the 10th Legislative District. The 2023 elections are local and nonpartisan. We are covering 44 elective offices on this year's ballot, including mayors, city councilors, school board directors, and commissioners for hospital, port, fire, parks, and cemetery districts. 67 candidates filed for these offices during filing week in May, and we've invited all of them to do interviews for you. We also have extensive coverage of these elections and the actions of these government agencies on our website, voterinterests.com. The following interview is with Morgan Cooper, one of two candidates for Commissioner Position 1 at the Whidbey Island Public Hospital District. We provided a list of potential questions to the candidate in advance of the interview. Well, good evening. Today is Tuesday, August the 1st, and we're here with Morgan Cooper, who's running for the Whidbey Island Public Hospital District Commissioner Position number 1. Morgan, welcome to the Voter Interest Project.
Hey, thank you, Alan.
You're welcome. Where are you today? Are you at home or in the office?
Oh, no, I'm still at work, dude. I'm actually in a new weight loss clinic that we opened in Oak Harbor. So I'm still here at work.
Very good. And how long has that been open?
A week.
A week? Wow. So
it's
just
brand new. Yeah, we've been working on it for a couple months, but we just opened last week.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's push through just a little bit of biographical information so people have kind of the notion of who you are, where you're coming from. Are you married or single?
Oh, I'm single.
Okay. And do you have children?
I was married 20 years and divorced after 20. Oh, okay. I'm the mom of 2 great kids, and I have 3 awesome grandkids. So I feel very fortunate, and they're all right here on Whidbey Island.
Oh, very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Were you raised here on Whidbey, or did you move here from somewhere else?
No, I came to Whidbey Island in 1973. My dad was stationed at Nellis Air Force Base. He was Air Force. And then I got married and I moved up here. And, 24/7 town, I wasn't even old enough to appreciate, right? Because I was still 19. But I moved here in 1973, and my ex was transferred here to actually install the system for Whidbey Telephone Company, the trunk system.
Oh, okay.
So that's how we got up here. And it was just like, oh man, the first time I saw all the trees and the water, I kind of flipped out because my dad was always stationed in southwestern states. So it was pretty dry.
Sure.
Very different, very different.
My wife and I were living in Seattle and moving to Redmond and looking for a place many years ago now. And we ran into some people in an apartment we were looking at who were here from that part of the country, from the Southwest. And we said, we have to move out. We have to move out. It's too rainy around here. We have to leave. So I can imagine the culture shock.
Oh, well, I've got web feet now, so we're all good.
Sure.
Right.
So now, I take it you did not serve in the military, but your dad obviously was in the Air Force.
Yeah, I was raised in a military home. The old service brat does apply. There were 5 of us. And my father was pretty proud of his life, time of service, 28 years.
Wow.
And he sort of from that instilled this deep respect for our service members. So he was very proud. He was a proud man, and he worked very hard. He never missed work. He could get that every year. He got that, like in school where you get the greatest reward for,
perfect attendance.
No time off. That was my dad. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now you said that you just opened this weight loss clinic. Is that, have you been, obviously this is a new venture, but have you been in that field for your professional career, or what do you do?
What I know, we've known each other for a little while, but you probably don't know. So let me just give everybody a little background, and including you, is my professional background is pretty varied. I was a homemaker, clearly, back in the day. I was a parent school volunteer. I did all of that. I was a postal delivery driver
Oh,
for the post office. I was an Ace Hardware, helpful hardware person.
sure.
I was a radio sales and disc jockey. And actually to Whidbey's radio station, KJet Radio here in Oak Harbor for many years. And KJet Radio, as some will still remember. I later went on to Warm 106.9 in Seattle and FM 100 Radio Ranch in Bend, Oregon, which was a country station.
Okay.
But this kind of just brought a kind of an expansion in my life with marketing and branding. So during those years, if you want me to continue, I was engaged in many like community organizations. So big brothers, big sisters, radio was a part of everything here. Pat O'Day owned that radio station towards its tail end. But we did the Rotary Club, the Lions Club things, the Island County Fair. I actually emceed with our island's beloved Jim Freeman for numerous times. And Jim regrettably passed in 2022. But he left us with some wonderful, great memories. What a guy he was. I once cooked cioppino for 250 people for a fundraiser at the Island County Fairgrounds kitchen, which wasn't as nice as it is today, but it was still pretty good. I'm still the voice of the Hydros for Heroes event that raises money for scholarships in the local Backpack for Kids program. And I've emceed also at the Oak Harbor Music Festival, and I'm active in supporting the Burn Children's Foundation and Seattle Children's, of course. So, you know, my background, how I got into weight loss and bariatrics, I moved to Phoenix, Arizona for like a 12-year stint after I got divorced. Okay. I felt like I needed just a little time to step back away from this community a little bit. And my marketing experience during that time migrated into healthcare. So all this marketing that I had in radio and radio sales and writing commercials and producing commercials changed because my parents at that time were elderly. My mother passed from lung cancer, and then my dad needed placement, right? So he was deteriorating. His health was going downhill, you know, without that good woman under the wind beneath his wings. So I went to work at St. Luke's Medical Center in radiology. So I kind of pitched radiology out to all these streams because they were losing to, you know, other practices that had standalone radiology facilities. And so we were trying to drag people back into the hospital, which that's not that easy to do. I went to work there and then was hired about a year later to market the whole entire hospital when that job opened. And I was, you know, part of that was orthopedics, cardiology, bariatrics was one of them, behavioral health. We had 124 inpatient bed facility that was connected to us. We had a huge ED department because we were downtown Phoenix. We also did specialty wound care. And of course, bariatrics kind of became my little avenue, which is weight loss.
Good. Okay.
So
that's quite a collection of experiences.
I know, but it's funny how life kind of connects you and sort of connects the dots, because while I was there for the hospital's 100-year celebration, I also initiated a program for, it's commonly called like Vial of Life in lots of different communities, where it's the do not resuscitate, the power of attorney, it's your medication list, it's all those kind of cool things, you know, that you got to have, and your contact list. So we called it the EPAC, and it was short for emergency pack. And I pitched that concept to CBS, the CBS affiliate down there in Phoenix, as a primary media sponsor, and they bought. Oh. And then we gathered steam and we joined Bashas', and people that snowbird will know Bashas'. They have pharmacies in them. They're like the Safeway grocery store, but they're another grocery brand, and all first responders throughout the valley. So we had a humongous program, and we also added like the vehicle component to it, so that in emergency accident, if someone could not talk, those, you know, it had a decal, a static decal on the front driver and the rear passenger windows. And so that way it kind of served the first responders in those emergencies, especially with medications when someone couldn't speak. And that first year we provided over 450,000 e-packs.
Wow.
So I eventually was hired away by private practice to start a new bariatric and medically supervised weight loss program in the same market, more North Scottsdale. And I marketed those services and plastics until I was hired at Swedish as the clinic administrator for their bariatric program. And that's what moved me home to the Northwest.
Oh.
So see, I kind of had this little travel, and it brought me back here, and I was charged to growing that program. And we grew from a staff of about 12 to 32 with a medical director, 2 additional surgeons, PAs, ARNPs, RNs, MAs, and all the support staff that goes with it. And during that time, we were integrated into an Epic. It's Epic, the electronic medical record system, which was new, because, you know, back in the day, everybody was charting old hard copy or dictation. Dragon speak was like the big deal, right? You probably being a techie know all about that. But in 2015, the island pulled me back, and I opened a marketing company that contracted to bariatric and plastic surgery programs. And I've dealt with those in Oregon, Nevada, Arizona, Washington. So I've done a lot.
Very good.
I'm old. I'm old.
I wasn't
Clearly,
calling to
I'm
say that.
old now.
I wasn't
Yeah.
gonna say that, but it seems to me that, well, you know, I moved up to the island in 2016.
Yeah.
Not long after we moved here, we moved up here to be closer to my wife's family. Their parents are getting older. And the first fall that we were here, my mother-in-law took a little spill. And we wanted to take her to the hospital. And she was adamant about going to Island. She did not want to go to WhidbeyHealth under any circumstances.
Yes.
And so I'm more interested in what you think the biggest challenge is, but I'm wondering if that reputational problem that WhidbeyHealth has is on your list of big problems that they have to overcome, that you have to overcome.
I do believe that it is. It's a shadow, you know, it's the shadow that follows. And it could be from 15 years ago or 20 years ago. But it's still so present in our lives because it impacts our lives so greatly when our health is you know, not taken care of, or we're not treated the way that we feel the kind of care that we should get, right? And so the challenge is there, but a lot of it has to do with small rural hospitals and their ability to provide the services that other hospitals provide. Island actually has many of the same ER docs and that, because they're all contracted. Yet Island has a much more positive, you know, personality, I guess, which could be based on leadership, correct?
Sure.
Because as we know, leadership has a lot to do with the whole dynamic of all the employees that are out working at the hospital, with the doctors and the power plays that go on. You know, I just think that there will probably always be those challenges. We'll probably flip a little bit, but I will say that when we were at the recently at Chelan, we did the Washington State Hospital Association for Rural Hospitals. And it was really, really so interesting to hear the dynamics of all these other hospitals around our state and how they struggled. COVID was a very big struggle for us, but we've been struggling for a while.
Yes.
struggles didn't happen because of COVID. They did during COVID, but they were happening before that, right? Moving forward. So, but while I was there, I did briefly meet the CEO of Island, and her and Nathan actually got together and were having conversation because we are working really hard to build that relationship where there has not been one. It's been a competitive sort of relationship, but I think now, as we see the greater impact of our community and how we can serve it, there are times when we need the services that are there. Quite frankly, we're a small rural hospital, and small rural hospitals do have challenges because they're not big and they don't have thousands and thousands and thousands of people or payer mixes to draw from, right?
Right.
So we are limited as to what we can provide.
Yes.
But that's a long answer to your short question there, Alan.
I don't know that it was that short of a question, but I feel like I should jump in here. So you mentioned Nathan Staggs, of course, is the new CEO.
Yes.
Just hired, what, a couple of months ago, maybe a little bit.
Yes.
That kind of opens up the question to Staggs' predecessor, not the interim CEO, but Ron Tallis. Ron, as a casual observer of the hospital district, it's hard not to see Ron Tallis as a villain. That's probably unfair. And certainly he was not at the hospital any longer when you became a hospital commissioner. But the problems that the hospital district was facing that at least got worse under Tallis are problems of governance, it seems to me. In the aftermath of his dismissal, there was a lot of talk that the commissioners had not been getting accurate financial information. So I'm sure it's been a year now since Tallis left. Mike Layfield from the outside appears to have done a pretty good job of putting the house in order. But what kinds of things do you want to put forward to make sure that those kinds of problems don't happen again? Or has that situation been solved?
Well, I think that is, we always need to be mindful of leadership. And I alluded to the fact that leadership goes a long way to supporting the morale of the team. When I first, I'll use an example here. When I first came to Swedish, and even though my team was small in bariatrics, they had a terrible 6% employee engagement. That's pitiful.
Yeah,
it's pitiful. At the end of my 5.5 years, they were sitting at 96%.
Wow.
And the only thing that we couldn't change was their ability to get further education for their particular, what they wanted to do in their life. And that wasn't something that we could change. So if you have poor leadership in place and they don't have the bandwidth possibly to work out the issues between departments, the financial, he was supposed to have, let's just go there for a minute on the former CEO.
Sure.
I met Ron. I went there all the way back then when he first was hired, and I talked to him, and I wanted to participate in my local hospital even back then. And it didn't work out, but it doesn't change how I feel about the situation that was created during his time here. And so he didn't have the community at the heart of his focus. And honestly, and really, quite frankly, he allowed our local hospital to deteriorate into a state of despair. When you don't watch financials, when you are not holding your billing accounting team accountable, and billing is not getting done in a timely manner, there were no financials, Alan. There was nothing. Yeah. They were non-existent. So I feel that he was an unhealthy administrator, to coin a phrase. Sure. And while it may sound grand to hand us over to Providence or Swedish, because I think one of our earlier questions, and another aspect was, you know, that was his way of saying, well, maybe we should just sell off.
Yeah.
Well, the truth is they already get the feed from us, the rural hospitals all across the state. They get the referrals, right, to all the services that they provide as a big hospital. They're not going to buy a small rural hospital because it's not going to ever give them the profits they need in operating. Without our you know, community support from our county, we would be in dire straits. In honesty, our hospital belongs to every single taxpayer in this county.
Sure.
And so, you know, I think they're for profit, and there just isn't enough payer mix for them. As I said, in the big cities, they got hundreds of thousands of people on any given day that are going to come to them for services. And if you have no vision for this hospital, I think the feeling of investment or otherwise compromises our position. So I think that if you're over your head, he could have been over his head maybe, but he didn't sound the alarm.
Yeah.
And I think that that was a big problem for WhidbeyHealth. And I think we suffered from it. And, you know, one of the things we just did, Alan, is we just conducted a SWOT analysis. And you know what those are, because they do the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats.
Right.
And I'm looking forward to see that, because it's coming in from multi levels of the employee base, from the doctors all the way down to those first people that you see when you come into the hospital and the greeters. You know, I really feel like the board that's seated now is 100% on board to hold that bar high, because, okay, when you have a bad situation, you sort of, we want to over respond a little bit until we find that balance, but we want to keep our eye on the prize, and we want to make sure that we're going to get there. And so I can tell you a few reasons why I feel like we are going to get there.
Okay, sure.
If you would like me to share those.
Sure.
So a part of this, board members are really supposed to become they're an important piece to the puzzle, because we're the eyes, the ears, and the voice of the community. As you know, you're a voice for the community with what you do in the voter interest projects. But the same thing happens here with us, is that it's a full circle kind of communication, because here we sit on the board, we're listening, we're making decisions, but we have to really look at the decisions that are going to help the overall health of the hospital. But it's also now, with the things that we've seen that went on and transpired, that we're careful that there's an accountability and transparency that is happening. And I think the greatest thing is to invite people to those board meetings. And we did, by the way, change when we allow public comment, and that is at the front. So people don't have to sit through those long, sometimes boring, you know, I mean, some people find them boring. I don't find that boring, but if you're just sitting there and you don't have 3 hours in your life, you know, right? Lunchtime. Yeah. But anyway, I'm a part of the finance committee. It was one of the things that I wanted to be a part of. And we just hired Paul, who has been putting our financials together, digging for things. And we actually now have a financial report inside of all board meetings, where we're actually seeing things from last year comparatively to this year. So we're actually just able to see a little bit of the health, you know, and the rise, the financials, cash on hand. To be honest, we were not, I mean, you know, at some points we were below 10 days.
Yeah, I remember Commissioner Golder reporting that. 10
Yes.
days away from being out of money is a terrible position to be in.
Oh, talk about a panic.
Yeah.
But now we're sitting at over 50 days cash on hand.
Hmm.
And we'd like to do better than that. And as we grow the services, the service lines and some of the other aspects that I'll go into in a second, I think that we're getting healthier. But you first have to be able to see where you're at. And if you're never going to hit the bullseye if you don't aim for it first. And if you don't have anything to aim for, you're never going to get there. It's just, it's an impossibility.
Yeah.
And so I think not having financials and just quite frankly, winging it doesn't work for a hospital, and it doesn't work for our community. And what a sad, sad tale. But in that tale, just like life, we learn, right? So we're learning, holding the bar, having accountability, being transparent, having financials available to the community, being able to see those financials, see the cash on hand, seeing the billing get straightened around. Gosh, we've got some firecrackers on there now that are getting our billing and getting billing out and also collecting under 50 days, which is actually pretty good average within the structure of billing. And I've done plenty of it. Billing and coding is a challenge everywhere, but when you're really deficit in terms of time element, it puts it puts such a stretch and strain on everyone when things are sitting in 180 days, a year out. How could you do that? It's not that you can't work and financially meet your obligations.
Yeah.
So a lot of those things have changed. So I'm also a part of the Board of Quality Improvement Committee. So that's the part that measures the quality of care in our hospital. And I am really, I'm still learning there, but I'm really excited about what I'm hearing. And one of those things that I wanted to share was like with our service lines, our cancer center, let me see where that is because I wanted to quote that. It's our MAC. So our cancer treatment center, the MAC, it is an accredited commission cancer center, and they work in tandem with Providence and Swedish for our cancer patients. And they are doing a jam up job. They are really doing a great job. So there's lots of good things happening. And aside from that, I clearly am interested in community communication. We have very little of it.
Yes.
And it's just because there's an over amount of messaging that needs to take place, but one person cannot do it all. Just one person cannot. So I just think that those are great. I listen in. I don't have to, but I do listen in on all the provider meetings. They have early 7 a.m.s, and we do those twice a month. So I get to hear how the providers are actually feeling and how they're talking about their schedules stretched. And I know that we reopened Freeland, the clinic there. Our walk-in clinics they really are rock stars for us right now. They're a wonderful feeder to our WhidbeyHealth hospital. So those are things that we're improving. And as those things become stronger, our health within our WhidbeyHealth becomes stronger. So I'm feeling very confident.
Very good. My timer down here is telling me that we're pretty close to the end of our time. So we should probably.
Okay. What do you want to know then?
Well,
Most important.
Really, the most important last question is, people want to know more about you, what you're doing, what your campaign's about, what you want to accomplish. What's the best place for people to reach you? Do you have a website or Facebook or something like that?
I didn't do a website this time. I've been doing this, so I've been really busy. Sure. But I do have an email address, and I invite anybody to message me, and or email me, and that's at Cooper 4, the number 4, WhidbeyHealth. It's not spelled out. It's just WH, because it would be long. Yes. Commissioner at gmail.com. So Cooper 4, the number WH, Commissioner gmail.com. And then I am findable on Facebook under that same Cooper for WH Commissioner.
Okay.
And I will have a very active Facebook page. As you know, I'm all up about community. So I do appreciate that. Can I just do a closing? I kind of did. Do I have 30 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So it would take more than 30 minutes for me to tell everybody about all the good things that I feel are taking place in Whidbey Health. And I'm really not trying to blow smoke up anybody. I really want people to understand that there is an air of hope, new leadership that is strong, that is committed, that has experience, a new financial CFO that knows what he's doing. That is important.
Yes.
We have added services like urology, orthopedics, behavioral health. Our behavioral health was added last month, and she is already booked till the end of December, end of the year. And we do have a great need in behavioral health, but it's a start. And so we'll continue with that start. We purchased a specialty clinic space last month. We paid for it. Mm-hmm. It is an asset. It is not going, putting us in a negative. Okay. And it's going to free up another area of the campus property for maybe some local services to our Coopville residents, which they don't have a walk-in clinic at this point. It's still under debate. So that's what I hope for. Our strength is in the community that we serve and the employees who do good work every single day. And I encourage the community to come to the table, be a part, be active, attend. It's okay if you don't always like what we're doing. We need to hear that too, just as much as we need to hear accolades, right? Sure. But you do have a seat at the table and you're welcome to participate. The health of our hospital, honestly, is in our hands. It truly is. And we own and support it. And therefore, it belongs to each of us. So I'm here to serve. That's all I want. There is no agenda that I have. I just am a community member. I want to be a part of my community. And because of my knowledge, because of my experience, this is natural for me to want to be a part. And so as a community member that cares, I just would be grateful to receive their vote in November.
Great.
All right, how it goes.
There we go. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you very much, Morgan.
Thank you for the opportunity, Alan. I do appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks very much for your time. I'll let you know when all this is ready and and we'll talk again soon.
Thumbs up.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching our interview with Morgan Cooper, who is running for Commissioner Position 1 at the Whidbey Island Public Hospital District. We invite you to subscribe to our newsletter, available in 4 local editions: Camino Island, North Whidbey, Central Whidbey, and South Whidbey. The newsletter arrives in your mailbox every Monday morning with news and events from your part of Island County. You can subscribe to the newsletter at our website, voterinterests.com/subscribe. And look for more of these candidate interviews as the election season continues. Thank you and good night.